Morning, gang. We're going to try something new today. We are going to try out this rust converter from Rust Check that I purchased at Canadian Tire for $14.99. I just have a little scratch on my car, and it looks like it's been there for, I don't know, I'm guessing it's been there about 2 months, but I haven't gotten around to fixing it, which means I haven't touched it up, and I haven't done anything to protect it. So now we're gonna have to use a little rust converter to try and make sure it's clean and no rust in there. And while we're at it, I saw another little spot that we're gonna take a look at. Now, I've already prepped the area. I took some degreasing soap and just tried to get as much of the gunk out of there as possible, and any loose bits of rust and what have you. You can see this guy right down there, and then of course that guy right there. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the rust converter stuff here. We're gonna dab it on with a little bit of this my lady's makeup brush, which she will not use once I've done this with it. It's actually a clean one. She was gonna use it for something, but then she didn't. So it's gonna be, I think, the right size and just what we want to kind of get it in the spot. Now you can see probably just a little bit there that you can see the rust. And that's what we want to get rid of, is the rust. I don't know what happened. It feels like somebody dragged something across it, to be honest. I'm hoping nobody would do something so callous and mean. But that's kind of what it looks like. Something got dragged across it. Anyway, we'll have a look and see what we can do. All right, so the directions say to do everything I've done, and if I can use a wire brush I would have, but it's pretty tiny. Just to give you an idea of how tiny it is, there's my pinky, so it's quite small, and the amount of rust in there is really small. So it says apply remover liberally with a brush or applicator to the metal surface and work out into any pitted areas. Allow 20 to 30 minutes. So here we go. We're going to try to apply this liberally into this very tiny spot. Man, I wish they sold this in like a half-size bottle, because I'm never going to go through all this. Now I'm wondering about the paint. Does it affect the paint? I mean, there's the clear coat on the paint, so hopefully not. Well, we're going to apply it liberally. Wow, that seems to be making a difference right away. That is crazy. There's no longer that little line of brown in there. It seems to like just be metal, like chrome colored now. That was remarkably quick. Now, while I got you here, if we just tip down to this guy, let's open up a little bit here. Come on. You're gonna do the same there. Now this guy, again, really small. It looks big on camera, but it's teeny. I'm gonna try it with this guy as well. Try not to smell this stuff too much. Now that color there that you see is probably predominantly the actual color of the liquid. It's not the rust coming off. That's the liquid is sort of a dark brown itself. And that it's not making such a big difference on this one. We'll try and work it around a little bit. Again, it's hard to apply liberally when it's such a small area. I mean, the real yellowy sort of what I want to call rust colored stuff has come off, but still a pretty dark area underneath. Now we are going to let this sit for a little bit, just like the instructions say. But I am going to wipe around the area on both with a paper towel, just so I don't leave this sort of, it's pretty watery. So we're going to try and make sure we get as much of that off the paint before I let it sit as possible. Looks slightly better. I don't know. It's not quite coming up as metallic as the other one, but it's definitely not as deep rust colored looking as it was. All right, one more. And then we'll just give it a little towel off. All right. So just because I'm anal, I'm gonna take off a little bit of the gunge around the edges, just so hopefully it doesn't stain. Same with this one, just not touching the actual spot that I was trying to get to, but just the area around it. Now I will come back and wash this anyway, but I don't want to take any chances on a white car with a brown stain. And then once we let that sit for 20 to 30 minutes, we'll come back, we'll wash it, and then it'll be ready to, once it's dry, it'll be ready to use the touch-up paint on. Anyway, there you go. Exciting. All right, we're back. It's been about 25 minutes. We're gonna clean off the rust remover, the Rust Check rust cleaner, and then we're going to dry it as best as possible. What I have here is just some, again, Dawn dish soap and a toothbrush that will never be used by a human again. And we will give it a nice scrub just to take off the brown and anything that might be left in there. Here's this one. And then once this is clean and dry, then I can go on to use the touch-up paint. And then once that's dry, the clear coat. So it is a bit of a process, just like everything else in life these days. It's a little bit of a process. But I'd rather do this than have it rust out and be on the hook for God knows what. All right, gonna do that. Now we're gonna rinse. All right, so here comes a little rinse job. A little hot water. There we go. Steam. And I'll give it a little bit of a wipe down just to help it dry. This isn't going to do a lot to help it dry, but so that one came out remarkably good. There used to be in that sort of groove, the long thin groove there, that was all sort of brown rusty in there. So that's much better. This guy, it looks like it's done a little bit of work. It's nowhere near as brown. Sorry for the unsteady hand there. So like I'm feeling pretty good about that. So those will be good. Once those dry, I'll touch them up, and then we'll get the clear coat on. All right, so we're back, and we're gonna use some touch-up paint. This is the Alpine White touch-up paint, and it's got also the clear coat sealant. So we're gonna put that down. And rather than use the brush that's provided with it, what I'd like to do is I like to use a toothpick, especially for things like this. Yoink. Because when we look at this, it's very small and the brush is huge, so comparatively. So I like to use a little toothpick. So what I typically will do is I'll get a toothpick and then I'll kind of look at it and then cut it on an angle somewhere where I feel like it's about the right size. And now I have sort of a flat surface. I can dull down a little bit. And that's what I'm going to use to kind of like boop, a little paint in there. Just a little cleaner, I find, than using the brush. Just give it a few more shakes here. And then take it out. I want to do this over the car, really. And then I get some paint. Like stick it right in there. Get some paint right on there. And then it's really just a dab will do ya. And that's it. That's all you do for that one. That one is real easy, really simple. But we're just gonna try and, as gently as we can, paint that in there. And you don't want to go too much. Less, I think, is usually better. I went too heavy on that little spot on the edge. But that's about it. It's just so... There we go. All right, well, that's that. I'll put a little bit of the clear coat on it once that dries, and then buff the hell out of it. Now, that being said, if we do this, you're not seeing it, right? So that's really what it's about. How often are you up looking at a car like this? You know, usually it's going by at 40 kilometers an hour, and you're not closer than that for sure. So it is what it is. Well, we're back, and it's already starting to get moist out, so I don't know how well this is going to hold up, but we just got to put on the old clear coat. And so very similarly to the last time, a little sloppy there, we just want as little as we can just over the parts where we painted, and that's it. That's the whole thing. Now it's gonna get damp out overnight, which sucks because it's just the way it is, but hopefully that does the trick.